Hey guys, in the last few decades, some people in the ME/CFS community have been reporting that a vaccine triggered their condition, and now some people in the COVID community are reporting the same, yet very little attention is being paid to this. So in this video, we're going to dive into this controversial topic. I'm going to share my personal experience with a possible vaccine injury that was edited out of my book. We'll look at some of the stories of others that the mainstream world often censors or overlooks, and we will cover the cutting-edge research surrounding vaccine injuries and treatment. So those of you who have heard my ME/CFS recovery story, and I suspect that's most of you because I told the story in about a zillion places, but I usually attribute the thing that set off my ME/CFS as a bad flu. I got a bad virus, and then it was like I got better for a few days, and then it came back, and it was this cyclical thing that evolved into this 10-year ME/CFS kind of nightmare. One thing that I wasn't sure whether or not was playing a role, and I'm still not entirely sure, is that yes, I did get a flu. I did feel better for a few days, but then I went back to work and they were giving out flu vaccinations. So I got a flu shot. And then either that evening or the next day, I started feeling sick again. And I'd never before felt sick from a flu shot. So I didn't think it could be from that. I didn't think that they could even cause symptoms. I didn't know much about it. So I just sort of grasped onto this flu concept. And if you've read my book, Finding Freedom, cheeky little book plug, you might be thinking, I don't remember reading about this vaccine in there either. And it was in the first version of my book, but my editor strongly suggested that I take it out, that I did not want to be a part of any sort of anti-vax information. And I suspect this type of censoring, I hope, is mostly well-intentioned. And I get it. I certainly do not want to be spreading any sort of anti-vax information. That being said, I also know that silencing people who face issues, even if they are the minority, isn't right either. So let's dive in. I have done a lot of research on this lately, and I've learned that except for HPV vaccination syndrome, the question of whether vaccines can trigger conditions like ME/CFS or Long Covid, fibromyalgia, and so forth, has virtually been ignored. And with vaccines dramatically reducing hospitalizations and deaths from COVID, and even being able to reduce the risk of coming down with long COVID, researchers have understandably been hesitant about touching the idea that vaccines can actually be producing long COVID as well. However, due to the mass vaccination drive during the pandemic, there's growing attention towards the possibility the vaccines can induce ME/CFS-like conditions. And here's where this gets complicated and why this is even a controversial topic to even bring up. So despite the issues that some people face with vaccines, vaccines have been one of the most successful public health interventions in history. Aside from this COVID-19 pandemic that we all just lived through, most of us have not witnessed the horrors that happened pre-vaccines. Vaccines have dramatically reduced morbidity, so illness and mortality, deaths from all sorts of infectious diseases. I'm going to share with you a few stats that I suspect are going to blow your mind. So smallpox alone killed hundreds of millions of people. And thanks to the vaccine for this, it was officially declared eradicated in 1980. And before we had a vaccine for polio, it paralyzed thousands of people every year. And since the vaccine, that is now down 99%. And before the measles vaccine was introduced in 1963, major epidemics occurred approximately every 2 to 3 years. Can you imagine? And measles caused an estimated 2.6 million deaths each year. And as of 2019, measles vaccination alone has prevented an estimated 23 million deaths. So vaccines work. That being said, some people have some legitimate questions and fears when it comes to vaccines. The number of long vax patients, so people experiencing symptoms weeks, months, or years after their vaccine who are showing up in doctors' offices, has made ignoring this issue increasingly difficult. So this condition, now called long vax, has only slowly been gaining acceptance in the medical profession. So what is happening here? What is causing this long vax syndrome to occur? There are a few suspected causes of vaccination injuries, which include things like immune overreactions, autoimmune reactions, autonomic nervous system reactions, and issues related to the ACE2 receptor, which the virus uses to infect the cells. Now, overall, research to date is showing that vaccines reduce the risk of long COVID, but more and more reports are also showing that sometimes it also does cause it. So I asked around in all of my different social spaces to see what you guys had to say about vaccination injuries, and I got quite a significant response. So thank you to all of you who sent me your messages. And if you're watching this and you have an experience to share, please put it in the comments. A big goal of this video is just to get the conversation going and continue to raise awareness about what's going on. So many of the people who reached out shared that post-vaccination, they developed conditions that were like ME/CFS or long COVID, fibromyalgia, and so forth. And definitely there was a strong sentiment demand for more information, more resources, more awareness, and just more space on channels like this one for people to start talking about it, and to have more people on this my channel who are sharing recovery strategies, sharing their recovery stories. So me and my team are working on it, and we will do everything we can to deliver that to you. So what does this vaccination injury look like? People reported a whole long list of symptoms that they were experiencing. Things like fatigue, headaches, brain fog, neurological issues, numbness, heart issues, tingling, flu-like symptoms, dizziness, vertigo, nausea, heart palpitations, muscle and nerve pain, swollen glands, digestive issues, and menstrual cycle disruptions. And people also shared quite a few different things that they have found helpful, on and off with the glasses always, for recovery with these vaccination injuries. And diving into each of them in depth is way beyond the scope of this video, but I just want to share with you an overview of what some of the things people are finding effective. Glasses back on. One of them is NAET therapy, which is an allergy elimination treatment. Some people have found success with hyperbaric oxygen therapy, other people through vitamins, supplements. Some people talked about spiritual healing. Some people have had success with changing their diets. Also, intravenous immunoglobulin or IVIG therapy, and also brain retraining some people have had success with. Something interesting that came out in the responses or the comments and messages that people sent me is that although some people are having issues post-vaccination, some people reported feeling better after getting the vaccination. So they were experiencing ME/CFS or long COVID, and then they got their COVID vaccine, and all of those symptoms started to go away. And a couple of people that I've interviewed here on this channel have reported the same. So what do the experts have to say? Despite what it looks like on the surface, not all of them are dismissing this. A few examples are Anne Louise Oaklander. She is a neurologist from Harvard. She speaks about there being a genuine connection between vaccines and these symptoms. And Harlan Krumholtz, he is a cardiologist from Yale, talks about the importance of researching this phenomenon without conflating it with anti-vax sentiments, which I think speaks volumes. I think this is a big barrier to moving forward in this area because virtually everyone's afraid to talk about it, myself included, because you're going to come across anti-vax. And I think we need to have a way to not have it be black or white. Either vaccines are good, all of them, or all of them are bad. To acknowledge that they are saving millions and millions of lives and a vital part of our health intervention strategy, but also acknowledging that there are some cases where people are having problems and we can't ignore them. So something really interesting, there's a nonprofit called React 19, which was created by medical professionals with vaccine injuries. And they shared something that I want to read to you. They said, the COVID-19 vaccine injured have often been abandoned by the current healthcare system. We have been ignored, misdiagnosed, and often censored. We have struggled to find adequate healthcare. So just think, if you're a medical professional with a vaccine injury and you're feeling censored and you're struggling to find the treatment that you need, imagine what everyone else is going through. So this group, React 19, is creating its own research network and is beginning to fund small pilot studies. And it's also created a doctors network and allows vaccine-induced illness patients to tell their stories. Now, as for treatment, There is a doctor in Germany, Dr. Bernard Schaefer in Germany, is trying a new treatment, and in a small unpublished pilot trial, he has said that it is helping people. His treatment approach targets the RES bradykinin axis, which is that ACE2 dysregulation, also cholesterol metabolism to support the blood vessels and reduce inflammation. And he targets the gut with a histamine-reduced diet to tame the mast cells. And there's also another significant study named LISTEN with results anticipated soon. As soon as I hear anything, I will keep you posted. Now, in terms of recovery from vaccination injuries, I definitely have some thoughts. But just before that, I want to share our member shout out today is Cathrine Gumo. Thank you, Cathrine, for the support. I truly appreciate it. You're helping to make all of this possible. For those of you watching, you can click join under this video if you'd like to also become a channel member or learn more about how you can support the channel and get instant access to exclusive content and perks. So, my perspective on vaccination injuries. Although we're hearing more and more about it now, post-COVID-19, I don't think this is anything all that new or anything all that unique. I think that this is one of many triggers, and this is my perspective, my take it for what it is. But of the many people that I talk to that end up with conditions like long COVID or fibromyalgia or ME/CFS that is triggered by a vaccine, by some other virus, by mold, heavy metals, past trauma, a car accident, death in the family, overtraining, stressful job, toxic relationships, and so forth. And in all the people that I talk to, and in my own experience, focusing on that trigger when you're trying to navigate your recovery isn't actually helpful. Now, I don't consider myself as having a vax injury, or I guess I don't see any value in attaching to that label because I don't think it's going to be helpful at all in figuring out where to go from there. I think there's more value in looking at why the majority of people who get vaccines are fine and some people aren't. So why aren't other people getting this? And a lot of people, when they do get through their journey, or you're never really through it, but when they reflect back on their journey and they have this initial trigger that they attribute to the onset of their symptoms, when they zoom out and really look at the big picture, they have concluded that it was just the final straw, that there was a perfect storm of things going on that resulted in all of these symptoms coming on. And for years, for decades and decades, we've been looking for some sort of unique, fancy, cutting-edge treatment to treat ME/CFS or now long COVID or vaccine injuries. And in my experience, in my reading, in my research, the people that I talk to, that this is never really the case. And I suspect as you navigate your recovery from a vaccine injury, you will find a lot more success by looking at recovery from similar conditions. So don't just zero in on all of the vax injury stories, but look at how are people recovering from long COVID? How are they recovering from generally post-viral illnesses, from ME/CFS? And just also when you're navigating all of this, to make sure to value your own judgment and insight, because you know so much about your body, you know your life, you know what resonates, what makes sense for you. So there's a ton of information out there. You don't have to follow anybody's, including mine, their recipe or exact formula for recovery. Just take bits and pieces from here and there, or if there's one story that really resonates, then go with that. And I can link a video here. It's a summary I did of 75 recovery stories that I did on the channel. So if you don't want to watch all 75, we have more than that now, but it tells you in short form the key themes that people are finding success with when it comes to recovery. And thank you to all of you who reached out to me and suggested that I do this video. I was hesitant. I've been staying away from it for quite a long time, but with so many of you reaching out, feeling silenced and unheard and frustrated and just lacking the information that you need, I knew it had to be done. And if you are overwhelmed trying to take in all the recovery strategies out there, one more resource for you. If you're not already signed up, I send out an email that summarizes a lot of the main stuff, point form, what's working for people, and the key resources that got them there. So there's a link in the video description if you'd like to sign up. Thank you so much for watching. Big hugs to you, whatever you're going through. I know this can be incredibly difficult. I'm just sending you love and hugs, and keep at it. Don't give up. We have so many different options out there for recovery, so many different resources. You have totally got this. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got something out of it, and I hope to see you in this next 75 recovery videos one.